Hey guys, happy Friday. How do you stay soft in a hard conversation or a hard event? Faced with hardness, with harshness, how do you stay soft? Well, I hadn't thought about this. This is not a theoretical share. It's actually a practical one because it happened to me yesterday. And it's the first time I even consciously think about what happened yesterday. I mean, yesterday I thought about it, but wanting to share this because I think when you start practicing something on loop, right, something beautiful happens. You create these new habits even in your behavior, and sometimes you don't even realize that you applied those new habits, and the magic can happen, which is like awesome. So yesterday I had to bring a paper to the police because I got a fine in October when I was going to the Bandana Shiva conference. And the reason is there is a sign in a curve that says that the speed there is 100, but I thought that after that curve it goes back to 120, which is the highway, because it's the highway. Apparently not. Apparently it's all the way, but I never saw a sign that changes the speed. So to me it was just being careful in that curve because it's a very it's dangerous. Anyway, I got a fine because I was going over 100. So I contested it with the help of a lawyer. I wrote a letter, and then I had to bring it to the police to get it stamped, so they have proof that I've actually given it to them, because otherwise if you don't pay a fine within 2 weeks, you get a penalty of €600, which is crazy. So I'm like, let's just do this. And I went there on Wednesday, and I went there a bit late. I was there at 5 o'clock, and one of the police officers told me that they will close. They close at 4 o'clock. The lady that does this kind of work, that takes the papers, she works from 9:30 to 12:30, and then from 2:30 to 4. They work hard in the civil service. Anyway, so I said, okay, I'll come tomorrow. And that day I had parked exactly where I parked yesterday, which is in front of the door, because there is a sign that says police, and there is like a sign that means no access, but then it says accept something, and I thought accept people that are going to the police, right? So apparently it's not. It says accept police vehicles, which I didn't understand because it's like a short. It's an acronym. How am I supposed to know the acronym? So anyway, so I went there yesterday. I parked where I parked the day before, because the officer saw my car and he never said, hey, you can't park here, you have to park in outside this area. So I assumed that it was fine, and I parked in the same place yesterday. And as I got out of the car, this police officer was so aggressive. I mean, I was like, I wasn't. It came at me like a bullet. He was like, "Do you have a license?" I'm like, "Yes." Well, he grabbed me and he took me in front of the sign. Like, what does this say? I'm like, well, it says something I don't understand. Except something to me that means except. You can't come in here except if you're going to the police. It's like, no, this is for the police only. And I'm like, okay, stop yelling at me. I didn't understand. I'm so sorry. And it was 10 to 4, so I had no time. So I said, look, I'm gonna move from here, but there's a civilian car here. Can I park there for a minute, because I need to see the lady. She's leaving in 10 minutes, please. Anyway, he was not happy. Like, you have to park downstairs. There is a parking, blah blah blah, that you have to pay for. I said, look, I don't have the time. Please allow me. So he said, he shredded he stopped yelling. He shredded his thing. He went inside, and he was talking to some colleagues about me. So when I came in, I could see that he was like looking at me like I was nothing. But at least he wasn't yelling at me anymore, because honestly I was on the verge of crying. And then I went in and I paid, and I said to the lady, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit flustered. Your colleagues stressed me out to give me a bit of anxiety. Anyway, she did all the paper. She was super sweet. So she actually, angels exist. Like, she was the balancing energy when you're feeling really stressed, when somebody just calms you down. That was really it for me. Anyway, and I was inside. I had this conflicting feeling of wanting to punch the guy and be like, fuck off. Like, you don't talk to people like that. You're a civil servant. You can't talk to the civilians you're trying to protect. Like, yeah, shit, like, come on. And I was just like, okay, calm down. You know, of course I wouldn't have punched the police officer, that would be me. Bye, Portugal. But anyway, it was like, you know, in my head I was just like, it really made me angry, but also frustrated and sad and scared. I was just like, I had all these feelings. But the woman really calmed me down, and I had a couple of breaths, and I just thought, my God, you must just be such a freaking miserable toss. Like, that you can't even be upset with him because he's just a miserable human being. So I went outside, and he was there in his car, and I said, thank you, sir, for making me park here. I've done the paperwork. And then he couldn't really yell at me anymore because I was calm, kind, and soft. And he just, you know, of course he wasn't friendly, but he just shrugged it. And, you know, I, of course, would never do that again now that I know. But he calmed down too, because what do you do when somebody is kind to you? You can't just yell at them, like, you know. So I think the less, and of course then I moved on. I honestly left, and I moved on very quickly. I told a couple of friends about it, but I was like, yeah, this happened. I just said, like, because I wanted to cry, because I was just so, I honestly was not expecting that kind of reaction. Like, it came in me so abruptly. And the officer that was there the day before, this is a funny one, he was there, and he pretended like, he was just like, he didn't even want to look. And then I could see that the other officers, when he stopped yelling at me, they looked embarrassed, like, you know, I shouldn't really do this. But nobody said anything. Because, you know, of course, there is the brotherhood. They're all men. I'm a woman. I'm a foreigner. They're like, fuck off. Like, you're in Portugal. Speak Portuguese. Understand the acronyms. Which, honestly, is the most hateful thing. Like, even when my Portuguese friends are like, you have to speak Portuguese. Well, listen, what if I have a learning disability and I really can't learn Portuguese because my brain just doesn't? Are you going to just tell me off because I can't? Like, it's just so uncompassionate. So I do my best, but I'm not perfect in Portuguese, and this is just the way I am. And I am learning more and more now that I'm more exposed to more people. You know, living on a mountain on your own, you just don't talk to people as much. So it's not like I knew Portuguese before we came here. So anyway, whatever. The point is, he was quite hateful. And, you know, I think I had the ground, honestly, to report him, because you can't act that way with people, with anyone, whether they're Portuguese or not, whether they are from your country or not. Like, you can't talk to a human being like that. You can't just yell at people. You can't actually also abuse your power. You are in a uniform, whether you are a police officer or a judge or whatever. When you are in a uniform, you're representing a country. You're representing, you know, the organization of that country. This is still a country, because actually the police is, you know, governmental. You have to act with dignity and ethics and morals, and you have to be an example of good behavior. Because when you yell at me, you are telling me that I am actually allowed to yell at people. What are you saying? Like that, you know what I mean? We have to be, when we are representing something or someone, we really have to represent properly, and we have to live by example. But in any case, I kept that softness, because just without thinking about it, and then I managed to just forget about it. But I wanted to share this because obviously I did that without really thinking about it. I didn't have to, you know, say, oh, I've been practicing the mindfulness of softness and not reacting so that I don't do something stupid or whatever. But I didn't even have to think about it. It was just this natural thing, right? And then the thoughts of compassion, like, this guy must be so miserable. Like, you can't be a happy person if you yell at people that way. And just that thought made me feel better. Like, what are you gonna do? You know, you really can't be upset at someone that is so unhappy, clearly. And of course, there is a part that he could just be a chauvinistic bum and is a man in a country where patriarchy and machismo is a thing. So it could be just that. But I chose to see it with the other lens of he's just miserable. And also, when you have a behavior that is so extreme, which is like machismo and, you know, patriarchy and all that, you can't be happy. There's no balance. So so that happened. So yeah, it was a reminder. So a reminder for you that if you come across a hard situation, don't become harsh. Don't give in that instinct, because it's an instinct to become aggressive, because defending yourself, right? To wanting to protect your boundaries, and because I felt violated in a way. I felt like my space had been taken over, because he approached me and, you know, kind of pushed my arm, and then I just felt like very unsettled. But you have to stay calm. So breathing deeply and then go into that place of compassion. Because if we are mirroring a bad behavior with a bad behavior, the outcome is resistance always, because each side is going to just get into the fight mode, and then everybody can lose their shit, and it's just not a very healthy place to be, and it can actually take you to dark places. And in this case, he was an officer, so he could have easily done something horrible to me, right? He could have arrested me or whatever. I don't even know what they can't do, but you know, it was abusing his power verbally, so I'm sure you could have abused it in other ways. And that was just a reminder for me to just stay grounded. And I'm happy I did, because in the end, actually, he couldn't say anything. He didn't say anything, and he calmed down. Like he was just not able to continue being an ass, basically. So I was just baffled. And I must say, this is my opinion and what I've noticed. The GNR is much kinder than the police. Every GNR officer, whether they're lazy or not, because they are, or useless, they are kind. The GNR officers are very, very friendly, and they actually, I like them. Like they don't do their work, and they don't reply, and they don't care. As an institution, they really suck. But they are kind. The people that work there are really kind, in my experience. In my experience with the police yesterday, and I had this before, where like they don't even, by the way, want to speak English, like in the city, but like Braga, in the city, they don't even want to speak English. When I approached one before to ask him for help, because there was a dog in the middle of the road, and I'm like, can we send somebody? And he was like, I don't speak English, and I was trying to explain in Portuguese where the place was, which was really hard, because I didn't even know how to explain in English. But anyway, they are very they're very cold. Instead, the GNR are quite nice, but they have their own territory, so I couldn't call the GNR at that time. But anyway, that was my experience. That is my experience with the police, and the GNR, and that's my opinion. But it was, in a way, I'm happy it happened, just because I had the opportunity to exercise keeping that softness, when in reality my instinct was to just fight back and be like, why the hell are you yelling at me? Like, honestly, who the fuck do you think you are? And I didn't. I was just very calm, because I actually didn't really think about it. That was my instinct. And so, you know, you can rewire. Like in the past, I would have just flipped off the switch, because I was in flight mode with adrenal exhaustion. So I told you before that a good morning would set me off. So can you imagine somebody just attacks me and yells at me? Like, I'm gonna lose my shit. So that wouldn't have been conducive to anything positive, and especially with a police officer. So, but it makes me sad that they can abuse their power so easily, and we are at that place. In any case, guys, I wanted to share this. I hope you find it inspirational, and it makes you think about your reactions. So instead of reacting, we can learn more about acting. See you soon. Bye.